it's been a night of surprises. Not only have I known that Penny Hanare and David Seymour are loosely related, not only have I seen David Garrett for the first time in years, but I also realised tonight is Penny Hanare's birthday. How old are you, mate?
You're all invited to the 21st, mate. You just come on over, Wallace.
How old?
37.
What have you learned in your 37th year?
Today, I learnt about the Judicature Modernisation Bill today, which is a pretty handy present to have, mate.
All right, very, very good. Hey, now, by the way, did you play rugby? Because we're talking about rugby this panel. Are you a rugby player?
I still play rugby.
Yeah. So what do you make? Let's go. What's wrong with rugby and its attitude to women? Your thoughts?
There's a deep ingrained culture of alcoholism and sexism in the rugby clubs. And it's not, I'm not talking about the rugby union boardroom down here. I'm talking country club rugby. What we used to do was we did a lot of drinking and played a bit of part-time rugby. And that was how I grew up playing rugby, and I dare say that that's how many men in this country have grown up. And I think it's a bad thing, mate. We've got to change that.
So how do you do it? How do you do it?
Mate, you've got to break down into their grassroots level and it's got to be led by solid leadership at the top. They've got to do the leadership, and we've got to do the hard work on the ground.
All right. And now, before we go to the rest of the panelists, I want to actually get a reaction from this topic with Tracy Martin's mum, Hayley, perhaps.
Yes, I am. I was thinking that, come on, Anne, I've been told to call you. Don't you think boys will be boys?
I've got 3 daughters, and I'm concerned about boys being boys. And I think we need to temper that type of culture, particularly when young secondary school boys are encouraged into the rugby clubs and the culture is then presented to them as being the norm.
Do you think it starts even before the rugby clubs, though?
Not necessarily. You can't generalise in that respect. I think families are influenced by how their fathers react in a social situation as they are with mothers. But I think it focuses on that culture in a be it a rugby club or a darts club or whatever.
You can hold that because you're so good at it. But,
Yeah, fantastic.
How would you change it, Anne?
I don't disagree with you.
I think we need more politicians like Tracy. And the New Zealand first team, who are very aware of equity and gender.
I've been told to get the mic back. Back to you, Wallace.
Hayley.
Yes.
Before you go, who else does she like on the panel?
Anyone else up there of those 3 men?
Look, I've got links into Ngāti Kahungu, so Penny.
All right, let's talk about this. Respect in rugby. What do you think? A collective warning was issued, but no individual repercussions. This is regarding the sort of the rugby and Scarlett, who went along to that rugby club and was treated atrociously. What do you make?
Well, I was one of the 3 women MPs that signed the open letter. So Jackie Blue rang me and I signed it. Listen, I don't know anything about rugby. I don't like rugby. I don't watch rugby. I don't care about rugby. What I care about is men and women's relationships and it being respectful. So why I signed that letter was not because they were rugby players, but because there's a group of young men where a group of older men needed to show leadership when their behaviour was 100% unacceptable. Now, if they're going to do a collective warning, do collective training and collective education, and let's change that behaviour. They are not victims. Scarlett was the victim.
Interesting. All right, very good. Hey, what about you, David? I mean, you would have heard that Western Bay Plenty councillor Margaret Murray-Bengi, who goes out with former national leader Don Brash, apparently.
And ACT Party leader Don Brash.
That's not about ACT.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot more to her than that, Wallace, but carry on.
No. But she says that she feels sorry for the players and questioned why, her words, a stripper would go to a rugby party. What do you make of her sentiments?
Oh, well, I disagree with her. I mean, look, first of all, there's just basic rules. You don't throw gravel at people in any context. There's rules with strippers. I can't remember what they were because it was a long time ago. But they clearly breached those rules. And one thing that does annoy me is that it ends up being all rugby players or all men being punished. You know, it wasn't even the whole Chiefs team. It was a bunch of guys who need to take responsibility for their own actions.
So what should that responsibility be? What should have happened? And what should happen? Because the investigation was a whitewash. It seemed like a whitewash.
Well, the people who were actually involved, not the whole team, should be making a sincere apology if the things that we've had reported are true.
Todd, should they be named?
Well, I think
should they be named?
I think it'd be remiss to say that this is a rugby problem. I think we've got an undoubted domestic violence problem in New Zealand. You know, we've got 45% of police times taken on domestic violence,
but
and it's only 80% aren't even reported. So
it's a rugby problem as well.
Yep, but I think, you know, instead of saying the issue sits with rugby and congregations of testosterone and that can be an avenue to sort of remediate some of it. So I think that actually, you know, you can use those organisations as a vehicle to try and get positive messaging.
Let's go straight up.
Yeah.
Should Scarlett have been there?
Look, Scarlett was employed. They employed her. They offered her a contract. She's a self-employed contractor. I would have thought somebody would be standing up for her. She had the right to go there and do what she was employed to do without being almost raped. Let's put a name on it. That's a rape culture, not a domestic violence culture. And this is not the only sportsman in recent history in New Zealand who's got away with this. There's a rugby player that got released with a gender-biased jury from a rape case over here. We've got a cricket player who's now got to go back up into court. This is becoming the norm.
Yeah, but there's a lot of that outside of sport as well. So I think, you know, we can be using sport. Obviously, if you're a sports person, you come with a higher level of public...
If they want to be role models and heroes, they need to act like
I'll come back to you. Hayley's got a guest, a very important guest tonight.
I do. Fiona McNamara from the Sexual Abuse Prevention Network. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
What do you think about Todd Barclay saying, come on, there's a bunch of men, their testosterone's flying, maybe it was her fault for going alone?
Yeah, we've heard a lot of that idea around boys will be boys in all the media this week, and I think that that's a really harmful attitude to have. That's really risky, and I think it's a huge problem because it's not normal behaviour for boys to be assaulting people, and personally I think that's actually offensive to men to dismiss this as normal male behaviour.
Do you think there is any call, I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate here, for her to have taken some protection with her security? She knows she is going in a bunch of rugby players and they don't have the best... what's the word I'm looking for? Reputation.
I think that she was doing her job, and I think that no one should have been subject to the kind of abuse that she was subject to.
Can I ask you, what is rape culture?
So rape culture is a series of ideas and attitudes, beliefs, behaviours in our society that essentially support sexual violence and allow it to happen. So when we hear these messages like boys will be boys, that's normalising sexual violence, saying that's what all men do.
What about if they're teasing you and they say it's only because he likes you?
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? That's kind of so that's saying like a man being mean to a woman is normal behaviour, and that's what women should expect and what they should expect from a man who supposedly likes them.
So what do you want to see within our sports teams, within our clubs?
Well, now what we really need to see is New Zealand Rugby taking this opportunity to address the culture and to really change it. Every instance of sexual violence is preventable. This should never have happened in the first place. And with really comprehensive education and policies and really addressing these behaviours, New Zealand Rugby should make sure that this never happens again.
All right, you heard it here, Wallace.
Oh, round of applause for Fiona there. Good to have you on the show, Fiona. Nice one. Hey, we're out of time on that one. Real people next up.